All right, anybody have any more questions on the question of accents? I know that you haven't learned the rules. If you look at what he has to say here on page 4, the basic rules. So let's take a look through the basic rules. The acute accent can appear on any of the last 3 syllables. Of course, you've seen that, haven't you? Like graphe, last syllable. Apostolos, third from the last syllable. Or, for example, ecclesia, which is the second from the last. So you've seen in what I showed you earlier the various places. There's second syllable, second syllable, second syllable. These, of course, third syllable. So antepenult, penult, penult, and even down here, phone or huios, or okay, all in the ultimate. So you can have the accent, of course, this is circumflex. The ultimate, penult, or antepenult. The circumflex accent will only appear on the last 2. An example of that is the word, and I don't have it here, but an example of that is the word go-on. What's this? Here's one I didn't give you. Go-on. Now that is written on which syllable? Which syllable? The penult, yes. Why? Ultima is the first. Penult, you don't have antepenult here because you don't have 3 syllables. But that doesn't stop this from being a penult. Ultima, penult. So here you have a circumflex on the penult. The only way you can do that is if the ultima is short. Omicron is always short. So is that short? Yes. Since it's an omicron, yes. Basic logic. Okay. Doron then is a long syllable. O is always long. Omega and eta are always long. Always short, always long. Okay? Now, the circumflex accent will appear on the last 2. The grave accent only on the ultimate. Now here's some graves. Alophos, phone, huios, right? You with me? Questions, or do you have questions? These are the times.
Those look like cute.
What did I say?
Mark, grave.
Oh, grave. I apologize. You're right. Thank you. Yeah, grave is not. The grave is not going to be found here. Grave is found in the midst of writing. In other words, let's say, and there's a rule for that. That if you have a sentence and you have an accent on the ultimate, then it changes from an acute to a grave. Okay? If you have a word that follows it, that, for example, like a consonant, it will change to a grave accent. And so the difference here, to show you that, a acute accent goes this way, a circumflex accent goes this way, and grave accent goes that way. Grave goes the other direction. And you'll see some of those and some stuff we're about to look at in a minute, and I'll hold off on that to teach it when I get there. That way you can look at examples in the New Testament. Okay, now, thus, apostolos, what is that? What accent? What syllable? Antepenult. Disc2. Penult. Alophos? Ultima. Doulos. It's a penult, and it is a circumflex. Graphes? Ultima. Notice that long syllables have the circumflex. All right? And chi, there you see a grave accent. The circumflex accent can only stand over a long syllable. So if you have an omega or eta, that would be long. You with me? It's okay to say you're not. People have trouble with this.
Yeah.
And this is where I need to get to make sure you understand it.
So circumflex only happens in the last
Circumflex only happens in the only possibility are the last 2 syllables.
And it has
The
to be
ultima or the penult.
it has to be a long syllable.
It has to be on a long syllable, and it has to be on one of the last two syllables. And it will only be on the penult, this one, here. It will only be in the penult if in fact the ultimate is short. Remember, it has to be on a long syllable. Necessary. Acute accent, this thing here that keeps showing up again and again, can be on short or long. It can occupy any of the syllables, the ultimate, the penult, or antepenult. See? It can be in any of them. It moves as far away from the ultimate as possible. If the ultimate is short, the acute accent tries to escape. If the ultimate is heavy-handed and long, it stays close. The grave, on the circumflex, on the other hand, can only go to the last two syllables and only can stand over a long syllable and only can stand over the second from the last syllable of the penult if, in fact, the ultimate is short. Now, you may not remember all this right now. Just read and keep thinking on it, and it will come, because you got between now and when I see you again after the first year.
Does it make a difference in how you pronounce?
Just where you put the emphasis. Has very little impact on the meaning for our purposes. There is a difference in classical Greek, for example, a couple of times between the accents, as far as a circumflex or acute, might be a different word. Generally speaking, New Testament, that's not an issue. If the ultimate word is long, there are two results. First, the antepenult cannot be accented if the ultimate is long, right? Second, if the penult is accented, it must have the acute. Note the change from anthropos to anthropo. Now, see, that's a good example here on the pronunciation. Notice that anthropos, how many syllables in? 3. So it's on the antepenult. But when you move to anthropo, what's happened? Arkanupson is long, so it then will not allow the accent to be on the antepenult. See, remember, it keeps it, when you have a long ultimate, it keeps it closer. If you have a short ultimate, it lets it go away. Does that make sense?
Are all diphthongs always considered long?
Actually, no. Good. But for our purposes right now, let's not worry about it. If the ultimate of a word is short, there are two results. First, the antepenult may receive an accent, which by rule 1 above would have to be acute. Second, a long penult, if accented, must take the circumflex. Thus, apostolos or prophetai. Now, notice here, here's to answer your question. See the alpha iota?
Mm-hmm.
That's short,
How do we know?
because I just told you.
Okay. That is definitely one good way. But when you're not around, how will we know?
In Greek, if you look at grammars, they'll tell you like omicron iota and alpha iota are short. Omicron upsilon and epsilon upsilon and eta upsilon and epsilon iota are long. So your omicron iota, alpha iota are short.
Okay.
All right. The grave accent is, in effect, a substitute for a final acute. Remember I said before it changes? So you can have an acute here. It's on the ultimate, right? But if you have a word in a sentence that follows it, oftentimes it will change to a grave. In other words, acute changes. It has to do with ups and downs of speaking. Okay, now, punctuation at the bottom. Greek has 4 punctuation marks. As in English, a minor pause is indicated by a comma, full stop, by a period. But in Greek, now these are, by the way, not what Paul and Barnabas used. I mean, they didn't know anything about this. This is something that editors of the Greek New Testament had developed for the purpose of us being able to read it better. Ancient manuscripts that Paul wrote, or Luke wrote, were all in capital letters, no word separation, no punctuation, which would make it more difficult to learn Greek today. All caps, no word separation. That's really great. No punctuation. But for your purposes, if you see a period, it's a period, full stop. Comma is a pause. And a semicolon is a raised dot, which means the statement after the semicolon is continuation, same idea. It's like one sentence, two parts. And then a semicolon that we use in English is a question mark. That's how you find it in the Greek text that you will end up purchasing and reading. Okay?
Was there the accent marks in original? Right.
No. Now, these are all just for your help. Okay, let's take a look at some Greek. Now, what I'm going to do here is just, it took me a while to do this, but I thought it would be helpful. And we don't have any exercises right now, other than you can do the divisions they say here. Okay? So the only exercises in chapter 1 we have is the LXX in the New Testament. LXX stands for the Greek word Septuagint. The word Septuagint is a word which means 70. Speaking of the 70 or 72. Translators of the Greek Old Testament from the Hebrew that occurred in the 3rd century BC in Egypt under Ptolemy, who was it was maybe not him, but maybe his follower in the Ptolemaic line from Alexander the Great in Egypt. But they had a commission, the word is, of Hebrew scholars who translated into the Greek Old Testament. Started in the 3rd century BC, took a while to do. It didn't occur, it occurred over about a century. And without going into all the details about it, you can read his statement here. We'll be looking at a lot of passages in the Septuagint. Some are canonical, some are not canonical. That is, some are inspired, some are not. But they're helpful information nonetheless. We have followed, as Protestants, the books of the Hebrew Bible. The 39 books, as we divide them, of the Hebrew Bible is what we follow. Or 22 in the Hebrew. If you go to Hebrew text, 22, because the 12 prophets are one book, we divide them into 12. 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and Chronicles are one book in the Hebrew Bible, we divide them, it wasn't big. And so, but, 22 books in the Hebrew Bible, but the same books that we use in the Protestant Bible. We do not include the books from the Apocrypha, which are found in the Septuagint, some of them, which are very good books, by the way, helpful books, historical, they're good to study and help you in intertestamental understanding what's going on. But they're not inspired in our understanding.
What is the word apocrypha?
Hidden. The word apocalyptic, like the Apocalypse of John, means to reveal, and apocrypha means to conceal. Good question. Now, let's look at its portion. I've given it to you here. I should say I did, he didn't. Look at this passage in the Septuagint in your text. You see that? LXX? You with me? So let's do it together. Let's just read the Greek first. Read it in your text. We'll read together. I'll help you. N-R-K, N-R-K, Epoiesin, Ha, Theos, Ton, Oranon, Kai, Tain, Gain, Hey. Now, by the way, you may not remember this, see, and I know I'm hitting you all this stuff tonight. You may think I expect more, but I don't expect you to get all this tonight. What I do expect is I've introduced it to you and you're going to study this. Right? But remember that the rough reading mark, it goes this way. Over the hey, over the eta there. That's hey. Okay? So hey, de, gay, ain, gratas, kai, akatas, huatas. That's a hard one. Akataskuatas, kai, skatas, epino. By the way, you could say that apano or pano, one of the two. Tes, abusu, kai. Now here's a hard word. In Greek, when you put a pi and a nu together, it still is sounded out. Nu. Pneuma. It's like the word pneumonia. Now we don't say the P. We just say the N. But the Greeks say it all. Spirit, Spirit of God. Pneuma theou epiphelete ta epana no, or one of the other. Two udatas kai apen ha theos genetheto phos kai geneta phos kai aiden ha. Let's see that rough reading mark again. Ha theos ta phos hati kalam. Okay.
Why do you pronounce it Theos?
What? Which word?
God.
Theos?
Yeah, why is it Theos?
The?
Or is it, I was just curious.
Instead of the?
Instead of more of
It's
that.
probably because I've always said it that way, but you're right. You know, more technically, it's the Theos. Theos. I guess I do say Theos, but Theos, actually. It's Theos. Taphos, hati, tam. Okay, now, let's look at it. What I've done is create an interlinear translation for you, I did today, so you can sort of get a feel for how the Greek language structures things. Notice there is no article here, so it's in beginning. One thing you have to recognize in Greek, one thing that Jehovah's Witnesses don't understand, one of the many, but is that in Greek all nouns are definite. In English we have definite nouns and indefinite nouns. A man, the man, right? You put a the, it's definite. With an A, it's indefinite. Greek has no indefinite article. Neither does Latin, by the way. Latin doesn't have any indefinite article or indefinite articles. But Greek doesn't have any indefinite articles, A. So every noun is definite. The reason for the article is not to define a word, but it has many, many uses, which I can't go into now, which is really an advanced grammar for next fall. We will never get into all the examples, because the article is used in many, many ways in Greek. But, so it's NRK, in beginning. Now notice here, I've done hatheos, God. I did not translate the word the. But in the Greek, you have the. Why don't we translate the? Because in English, we don't need that sense. Now, what you might not see is that in Greek, and notice I put the translation he made because the he is in the Greek ending. The Greek includes person and number in its verbal endings. So, literally, it's in the beginning, or in beginning, God, he made. But since you have God, you don't need to repeat he. But he is in there. But it just doesn't make good English sense to say in the beginning, God, he made. In every place you have it. You got a subject, you leave the subject of the verb out. So, to continue on. In beginning, God made, direct object, the heaven and the earth. Notice word order in Greek is not the same as it is in English. Word order in Greek is not as important. I've got a grammar over here for a particular that has a statement about God loves the world or something like that, whatever it is. I've got it over here. And he shows it can be written 24 different ways in Greek. The same expression. Because Greek word order is not the same as in English. You can write, now you can lose nuance a little bit. Sometimes the way you do write in Greek actually does have a nuanceful meaning. But generally speaking, in Greek you can write it a number of ways. I could reconstruct, I could put God at the beginning, God at the end. I could put ton or anon, kai, ten, gain at the beginning of the sentence. I can put it in the middle here. I can move that sentence a number of different ways, and in Greek you still understand it. Try that in English sometime. And the reason why you can do it in Greek is because Greek is a declensional and congregational language. That's how it's better to understand than English. When you've had people say to you, well, God had the New Testament written in Greek because it's such a precise language. You ever heard anybody say that? This is the reason. It's a very technical language, very very sophisticated language. And so it's not rich in the same sense that Hebrew is, but it's a great language for logic and theology. It'd be very difficult in Hebrew to express Paul's theological ideas as well. So in beginning, God, the God, made the heaven and the earth. Now notice the next word is hey, then de. De can mean several things. It can mean and, it can mean but, it can mean now. And modern non-literal translations, generally speaking, don't even translate de. But if you haven't heard my spiel yet, you will before the year's over, about my lack of confidence in most modern translations because they fail to translate the Bible and instead give the translator's interpretation of the Bible, which means their commentary is more than their translations. So
when you say modern,
I would say New International Version, today's English version, today's International Version, the Message, which is an abysmal translation, it's hardly even ranks to be a Bible. The New English Translation, today's, what is that, what's that one out of 10 Devil? New Living Bible. Huh?
Yeah, New Living.
Yeah, the Living Translation. Those really are not true translations. Those are really paraphrases of the text, more than they are translations.
so you still stick with.
You can't stick with the Greek and the Hebrew. Then, which is the best. Then you go to something like the New King James, New American Standard, English Standard Version, something that follows a belief in the words of Scripture. See, it's the evangelical view, and if you have the bibliology class with me somewhere down the way, the evangelical view is that the words of Scripture are the very words of God. And if they are the words of God, then as much as we are capable of doing it in a receiver language, we should bring over the words that God gave. For they're His words. And it's not adequate to bring over what you think the passage means, because that's called interpretation and not translation. Now there's a certain sense of interpretation, in the sense that you've got to understand what do the individual words mean. But that's not what I'm talking about. Every translator has to deal with that from the days of the Septuagint on, which is the first translation of the Bible, Septuagint, we're looking at right now. But they all follow the view that the words of the Bible in the original language are the very words of God. So the important thing we do is try to bring over as much as possible, the words of God. And modern translations don't believe that view, basically, most of the contemporaries. They were influenced by Eugene Nida in the 50s and 60s. Every translation until the time of Nida primarily were actual literal translations of the Bible. And then all of a sudden a new translation theory came in that said what we need to do is try to convey what we believe the passage means.
Is that new text criticism? Is that one?
Grammatical